Inshallah, comrades, we are days away from the formation of the new socialist caliphate of Mamdanistan, or whatever the New York Post believes will happen when Zohran Mamdani takes office.
This Sunday, I'm running. We're all running. To do something that's never been done before. To set a new record. To enter the history books. Just not at the marathon, because my 12-minute, 54-second mile is... We're gonna do it at the doors. The current record for the most doors knocked in a single day in New York history was 200,000. That wasn't by one campaign. It was by every campaign up and down the ballot across the entirety of the state. We want to shatter that record this Sunday, right here across the 5 boroughs with all of you. 3,500 volunteers have already signed up for shifts. With 3,000 more, we could do what's never been done. So if you're not running the marathon, or you're not like me and you can finish the marathon without having to go to the medical tent, sign up for a shift at zohranfornyc.com/GOTV. Let's make history, one door at a time.
As polling is now showing Mamdani with a major lead over Andrew Cuomo, whose bold strategy of going full-blown conservative in one of the bluest cities in America is not exactly working out for him. They've basically thrown the kitchen sink at Zohran up to this point, with no effect. No matter how racist, Islamophobic, or McCarthyist his opponents, yes, opponents, Curtis Lewa is still in this somehow, Mamdani has not backed down or lost support from his base. But what makes it so important for dyed-in-the-wool centrist Dems like Cuomo, Jeffries, and Torres to prevent someone like Zohran from winning what is, at the end of the day, a local election? It's about what he represents, which is the overall shift in the Democratic and American left voter base, a result of increased political activism and engagement, and a response to an increasingly unhinged and fascistic national government.
We are a little over a week away from New York City's mayoral election, and Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani continues to lead in every single poll. With victory almost assured, it has prompted Islamophobic attacks against the Muslim candidate. And it is not just Republicans, to be clear. It's also coming from New York City Mayor Eric Adams and former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Here's what Mamdani said in response to these attacks.
We stand on the precipice of an election, but that is not what today is about. We know that in less than 2 weeks, we will say goodbye to a disgraced former governor and our current indicted mayor. The bigger question is whether we are willing to say goodbye to something much larger than either of these two men. It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment that has grown so endemic in our city that when we hear it, we know not whether the words were spoken by a Republican or a Democrat.
You know, for someone who's been following this race very closely and has seen the level of attacks that have been leveled against you, you know, at some point they called you Marxist, they've called you socialist, they've called you communist, they've made fun of the way you eat with your hands, make fun when you eat with forks and knives. They've called you privileged. But it seems like over the last couple of weeks, and there have been a lot of Islamophobic attacks, but in the last couple of weeks, there's been a surge of Islamophobic rhetoric against you. And it's not new, but I'm wondering why you decided to address it now. Why did you decide to speak out against it so forcefully now?
You know, when I took a step back and listened to what was being said, outside of a question of electoral politics, outside of the question of the election, but just to the fact that major candidate for mayor in the Republican Party is slandering me as the first Muslim candidate on the verge of becoming the mayor of the city, as someone who supported global jihad. When I listened to a former governor and Andrew Cuomo laugh and agree when a radio show host said that I would cheer another 9/11, when I listened to the current mayor of this city explaining his decision to endorse Andrew Cuomo as a decision to ensure that New York City does not become Europe, that we do not leave it to violent extremists who burn churches in Nigeria. When I listen to all of this and then turn on TV and see ads that have the words of terrorism and jihad on top of my face that not only mock the way that I eat, but are all intended to terrify New Yorkers as to the prospect of having a Muslim mayor, I decided that it was simply too much. It was too much to think of these as the acts of desperate men looking to salvage the little power that they still had. It was, in fact, a reflection of Islamophobia within our political system that has become so endemic that when we hear it, we do not know from which party it comes. We just know that it is a fact of life in our city's politics.
People are tired of watching their party sit back and deliver lukewarm speeches and worthless platitudes without any meaningful opposition to the current administration, while offering nothing, not even the empty promise of desperately needed expansions to the social safety net. And while it ultimately has nothing to do with the day-to-day running of a major American city, Zohran or any other Democratic candidate for that matter opposing a genocide actually matters to people. He is an existential threat to the current state of the Democratic Party, who have argued for years that positions like his cannot get a candidate elected, that they will alienate more centrist voters and send them over to Republicans, or keep them from voting at all. The strategy of appealing to conservatives rather than galvanizing support among Democratic voters and leftists is being put to the test, and the latter seems more and more likely to be the winning strategy. And if the party refuses to embrace this strategy and these sorts of candidates, they're going to have to explain why. For AT News, I'm Dave. Good luck, Zohran.
Stop reading.